One of the things that I love to do is walk. I love to wander for hours on the beaches, in the mountains, or in the city. For this project, I decided to follow this historic downtown walking tour. It highlights historical buildings and sites that date back to the founding of the city. I'm going to visit each point of interest on the map. Using the map plus information I found on the web, I will give you a brief background for each of the sites. If you ever want to do this walk on your own, you can get this complimentary map at the Visitor Center on the corner of California Street and East Santa Clara, right in the heart of downtown Ventura. I hope you will find this tour interesting and excites your curiosity as it did for me. Ready to explore? All right, let's go. So the first point of interest is the Museum of Ventura County. The museum celebrates art, history, and culture of the region. It houses collections of local renowned artists and ancient artifacts of the native Chumash. There's also a research library upstairs with a thorough collection of photographs, books, and documents relating to the county's history. The second stop on the tour is the magnificent Moreton Bay fig tree. It grows in the park just behind the museum. This park was once the old Adobe walled mission gardens directly in front of the mission. It is said that these gardens held the first orange trees in California. The Moreton Bay fig is actually native to the eastern coast of Australia. Directly across the street is the Albamar Archaeological Museum. Named for one of Ventura's longtime mayors, it was also the polling place for the election that Abraham Lincoln won in 1860. Exhibits include stone relics from as far back as 1600 BC. Just to the left, you can almost miss Valdez Alley, where in 1820 the Ramon Valdez Adobe once stood. Valdez Alley is a quick public passage between Poli and Main Street, but it also protects El Caballo, preserved from the 1790s. El Caballo, or the horse, was one of the buildings that was part of the 7-mile aqueduct designed by the Spanish Padres. Much of the labor needed to build these structures were actually provided by the native Chumash in the area. So if you continue east on Main Street, you can't miss the San Buenaventura Mission. This is what it's all about. It was the 9th of the 21 dedicated Spanish missions of California. Also the last personally founded by Frei Junipero Serra in 1782, back when California was still Mexico. The Padres of the mission basically planted the seed that was to become the city of Ventura. They built aqueducts and structures that made it possible for the area to be populated. The original Ventura mission suffered a fire, but was rebuilt, and the current structure was completed in 1809. The mission is constructed from local materials like tile and stone. The mission is well kept, and today both English and Spanish masses are still held in the newer building behind the Adobe. Directly across the street from the front steps of the mission is an historic building built in 1877. It was the first commercial brick building built in the city. It is now the oldest still standing. Named for the merchant Pirano who opened the market and then later passed it on to his nephew Nick. The building stayed in the family up until the 1980s. The side walls showed typical advertising of its era. In 1992, archaeologists discover the lavanderia, or laundry, buried under this building. The washing pool is part of that 7-mile aqueduct built in the early days of the mission by the Chumash. Imagine the women of the church gathering at the lavanderia to socialize. As you look down this promenade, nothing remains of the original Ventura Chinatown. But here you find China Alley. The Ventura Chinese American Historical Society commissioned the China Alley Memorial mural depicting life in China Alley during the early 1800s. The Chinese who lived here served as merchants, laborers, farmers, cooks, laundrymen, and construction workers. The community even had its own fire brigade. In the same promenade is the Mission Theatre, built as a motion picture house in 1927. The Knights of Columbus took over this building in the 1950s. Here are some of the films that would have been shown during its opening year. Number 8. Just across the promenade still stands the Clock Tower Inn. Built in the 1930s as a fire station, the building now serves as a fine restaurant and hotel. A pulley system was used to dry the fire hoses in the clock tower. In the same building, on the side of the tower, is the tiny Ventura City's Fire Department Museum. 10. Across from the clock tower is the Tavern, one of Ventura's top night spots. It's also called the Carlo Han House, built in 1912 in the Victorian style. It is said that a young woman in the family hung herself in what is now the upstairs bathroom. Her presence has been felt in the house even today. 11. The merchant Nick Pirano. Remember him? His family ran the market kitty corner from the Mission. He built this Queen Anne-style home for his young bride in 1897. Just next door are two other historic homes, the Colonial Revival John Love House and the Queen Anne-style William Elwell House, finished in 1902. Now we'll walk back up to the top of the promenade, back to Main, and turn right towards number 12. Saloon keeper Mr. Spear rented out the second floor, now removed, as the first city hall and the first county courthouse. He served beer downstairs. 13. The Phoenix Stables. The stables and carriage house were built in 1906. After being purchased by the county, it was used as the county garage and then preserved as the Old Town Livery in 1982. 14. Across the street is the Norton Ranch House. This craftsman-style house, built in 1910, was not originally here, rather moved to this location from a nearby walnut farm. Now it's the home to 71 Palm, a restaurant known for its French-inspired cuisine. 15. The Hartman Residence. Built in 1911, Mr. Hartman, a native of Bavaria, brewed beer here and made a pretty successful living at it. 16. This building, currently in transition, was once the first post office. Marks on the floor show where the original post office counter stood. 17. Bank of Italy. The Bank of Italy, built in 1924. The Italians sure do know how to make a statement with their architecture. 18. The Bank of Ventura building was built in 1904. It was one of the first banks in town. Upstairs were the early law offices of Earl Stanley Gardner. He was the author and creator of the Perry Mason novels. Many of his detective stories were written in this location. 19. El Jardín Patio. Built in 1925 and part of the movement in creating the first shopping mall experiences in Southern California. Just off the main street, you feel as if you've walked into an old Spanish courtyard. Hotel Ventura, built in 1926. The Hotel Ventura Inn was once the city's largest hotel. It implemented the city's second elevator. Today, it is called the Ventura Inn and serves as a residential building. 21. First National Bank Building. In 1926, the city was booming. Across the street, they were also building the first National Bank building in this area known as the Commercial District of downtown Ventura. At one time, 6 banks were housed here. And you remember Earl Stanley Gardner, writer of Perry Mason novels? Well, he moved his office here after a while. Here is where the city's first elevator was installed. This romantic little hotel and cafe, El Nido, the Nest, appropriately named, was also built in 1926 in a Spanish colonial revival style. What sets this building apart visually are the cast stone friezes. Now, the Nona's Cafe and Bella Maggiore Hotel. Inside, you'll be surprised to find this romantic patio restaurant. This is where I would go for a special breakfast or brunch. The Traveler. On your way east now, look to the left side of the street. On the parking structure, you can see some public artwork, the Chumash Tomol and paddles. 24. Hotel Phasma. Here we walk by another 1926 building, the French chateau-styled Hotel Phasma. Today, it is a luxury apartment complex. As we continue east, we come across another huge Moreton Bay fig. This one planted in 1874 in Plaza Park. Plaza Park has been here since 1866 and has seen a lot of history, and once was the center for many city events. 26. The Gordon Grant Murals. Artist Gordon Grant painted the mural in the lobby of the post office in 1936. The Federal Arts Project, FAP, was the visual arts arm of the Great Depression-era New Deal program in the United States. The FAP's primary goal were to employ artists and to provide art for non-federal government buildings like schools, hospitals, libraries, etc. The mural depicts agriculture and industry of the time in Ventura and is one of the rare places in California you can still see one of these public works. Now we leave the post office and head back west to the next point of interest, the Ventura Theatre. This Spanish Revival colonial-style theater is one of the great movie palaces, a term used to describe the elaborately decorated movie theaters between 1910 and 1940s, the height of the glamorous movie-going scene. The theater houses a grand chandelier and ornate lobby fixtures. Continuing back to Main Street, we see the Ventura Guarantee Building and Loan, built circa 1906. Today the home to Watermark, another hip Ventura restaurant and nightclub. During remodeling in 1961, murals inside depicting early Ventura life at the Mission were rediscovered and on showcase again today. 29. Frei Junipero Serra statue. As you come up towards City Hall, the mission founder himself overlooks the city that could not have existed if he had not decided to break ground in 1782. In 1936, the statue was commissioned in wood, but it was eventually upgraded and duplicated in bronze. (30) Ventura City Hall and Municipal Art Gallery. In 2012, the Ventura City Hall celebrated its centennial anniversary. Outside are the 24 faces of the founding Franciscan Padres. Inside is an Italian marbled lobby, 3 stained glass domes, and a bridge gallery that holds community arts and events. I'd like to show you more of the inside, but that's a vlog for another day.